and that's what we all come for, the interstate regatta, the thing unique to rowing in Australia. As I said earlier today, the hierarchy of FISA when we had the 2 World Cup regattas didn't really understand the passion that went on Sunday afternoon. Please tell us what we're going to see in this afternoon's racing.
No, just a few races. No, you're absolutely right, Razor. I think if you live outside Australia, it's really hard to understand the rivalry. If you come from some of the countries in Europe, say you came from the United Kingdom, you have England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland racing each other, what they call the home countries regatta. And it's nothing like as passionate and as well fought as this interstate regatta of Australia's. Here we have people representing effectively their state of origin, to use the terms from another sport, or their place of permanent residence, provided they've lived there a few years. 10 events equally split across the genders, racing over 2,000 metres, and it takes place at the very end of the National Rowing Championships. For years, I believe it took place on the Nepean River, is that right?
The Nepean, they raced on the Brisbane River.
Before
the Canning,
regattas centres.
The Canning here.
Yes.
I had a photo sent to me the other day. Bob Russell, a great athlete himself, and then a coach for South Australia, coached the South Australian Youth 8 to win on the Canning in 1983, beating Victoria by 0.03. He reckons it was the last race James Tompkins lost for about 20 years. The history there is enormous. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I'm probably on the Torrens in South Australia.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So there is, if you would like to know more about the history of it, Andrew Guerin has created a wonderful website, www.australianrowinghistory.com.au. And there is a section on the Interstate Championships there. There's a wealth of information, some lovely photographs. But you're in for an afternoon of treat, really, with fierce racing, passionate racing, and quite a mix of athletes, because some states can field, like New South Wales, say, can field a fairly competitive team across pretty much all events, and some states can't field any crew at all in some of the events. But you do what you can. And at the end of all of it, there is a point score trophy called the Rowing Australia Cup, which is rather beautiful, made of glass, where the sand that made that glass comes from all of the countries that are members of the Olympic Association. So a lovely trophy, the Rowing Australia Trophy. This is a pretty special year as well, isn't it, Ray, in terms of our officials?
Yeah, our boat race officials do a wonderful job, and a couple of years ago when Steve Hinchy passed away, we made a point that he had officiated, I think, at 50 consecutive Australian Championships, and today we bid a fond farewell to the chief judge for this afternoon's racing, Brett Woolford OAM of Western Australia. Brett also is celebrating 50 years of service to the jury at Rowing Australia.
That's amazing.
And he would have started under the old Australian Amateur Rowing Council days, and he's a stalwart of Western Australian rowing, still officiating over here. I think I remember his daughter coxing youth 8s and maybe interstate big 8s as well. And we wish Brett all the very best in his retirement from rowing. But he's a very healthy man, and he'll continue to be fluffing around rowing clubs and rowing regattas for a long time to come. So well played, Brett Woolford, OAM, 50 years of officiating at the Australian Rowing Championships.
Absolutely.
So, Lizzie, they're moving into line rapidly. We're a bit late, but they are moving into line for the Interstate Men's PR3 Single Scull. A good time to mention that traditionally the last race was the King's Cup. But a couple of years ago, we celebrated 100 years of women's rowing. And now from year to year, we celebrate men being last or women being last. Right. Or more importantly, men being first or women being first, let's say. So the concluding event today will be for the Queen's Cup for this Interstate Women's 8-oar Championship of Australia.
And that means that our first event will be the men's PR3 single scull. So, as we said, 10 events equally split across the genders. The first 2 events are the interstate men's and women's PR3 single scull. And talking of umpires, our umpire for this race is Greg Smith from New South Wales, well known to many of us. He's chair of the Rowing Australia Umpires Commission, an international level umpire, and a great supporter of para rowing.
Umpired at the Paris Olympics. Sorry, no, they haven't been held yet. Yes, Tokyo Olympics.
Did indeed.
He'd be clever if he'd had
amazing photograph.
He'd done the Paris Olympics.
So in our PR3 interstate men's single scull, we have Queensland drawn in lane 2, South Australia drawn in lane 3, New South Wales in lane 4, Victoria in lane 5, and ACT in lane 6.
Won by Victoria last year, but that was Nicholas Niels who rode for Victoria last year.
ACT.
Sorry, the ACT, sorry.
Indeed. So representing ACT and rowing in lane 6 this year will be Stuart John, our co-commentator. He is coached by William Hatcher. Rowing for Victoria in lane 5 will be Aaron Skinner, coached by David Skinner. Aaron has represented Victoria in this event for a number of years, probably since it began. In lane 4, representing New South Wales, Harrison Nichols, coached by Odin McIntosh. In lane 3, representing South Australia, Jed Altschwacker, coached by Nick Mitchell from the South Australian Sports Institute. And in lane 2, representing Queensland, Mac Russell, coached by Michael Russell. Mac has rowed in this event for a number of years. He won bronze last year, silver the year before, gold the year before, well, gold in 2019. We obviously didn't have an event in 2020.
And Jed has won it previously?
He has. He won in 2021. And last year, Sam Stunnell stepped in for Jed. Last year, James Talbot represented New South Wales and took silver. James isn't rowing this year. He was in our Paralympic 4, but he isn't rowing this year. Aaron Skinner was 4th last year, and as you said, Nick Niels took gold last year for ACT and bronze in 2021.
And they're underway, Lizzie, and the two favourites, I would suspect, in lanes 2 and 3, Mac Russell and Jed Altschwager. But Jed would be the overwhelming favourite, recently selected in the Australian PR3 mixed double scull to go to the World Championships. And as I said, an overwhelming favourite to win the interstate men's PR3 single scull. He's coached by Nicholas Mitchell, the head coach at the South Australian Institute of Sport.
So Mac Russell in lane 2 next to him has been selected for the Australian team for the Virtus Global Games, which is taking place in France later this year. And then
did that take the place of what was the INAS or INAS Games?
Does. Yeah, absolutely. And in lane 4, our representative for New South Wales, Harrison Nichols, very new to the para rowing scene, a very competent schoolboy sculler who we've seen ploughing up and down in front of us this week. He has been selected into the Australian PR3 Mixed Coxed 4 squad, which will head overseas and hopefully be internationally classified at the Gavorrate Para International Regatta. I believe I'm right in saying that.
And he's challenging Jed Altschwager for the lead. Mac Russell back in 3rd place. But the youngster, Harrison Nichols, a schoolboy, is making a bold bid for victory here. He's level pegging with Jed Altschwager in the early stages of the event.
I'm pretty sure he took silver to Jed in the PR3 singles race earlier on in the week. Or did Jed not compete in that because he's been
unwell.
Wasn't very well earlier this week, wasn't he?
Right.
Yeah. So
Harrison is the Hunter Valley Grammar?
Hunter Valley Grammar School, indeed.
And Mac Russell's currently in 3rd place. Stuart John in 4th on the far side of the course, and at the rear is Aaron Skinner of Victoria, coached by David Skinner,
who's been coaching him for some time. And Aaron was I'm pretty sure he was in our winning PR3 Coxed 4 yesterday.
So a very experienced umpire, Greg Smith, following the race down. Tokyo Olympics umpire. It's a great honour for our Australian umpires to be selected to go to a World Championships, but more importantly to get to an Olympic Games. And a big shout out to Michael Eastoff, who was in London doing that job exactly. I'm sure Michael will be watching at the moment. But a great contest between the South Australian Jed Altschwager and the young upstart from New South Wales, Harrison Nichols. He's coached by Odin McIntosh. There's a lot of really good things going on up in that area, Newcastle, Hunter Valley Grammar area, and some exciting stuff coming out of there. Altschwager there with the big S on his back for South Australia. With his croker oars.
That's a new zoot suit, isn't it? I don't remember them having the S for South Australia before. Nice.
Once upon a time, I always used to go on about the big white V on the back of the Victorians, but Queensland's colours have always had a Q on their back.
Yes, they have, haven't they?
But if you excuse my being a little cheeky, the young upstart is throwing it right down to Jed Altschwager, and he's got clear water. Harrison Nichols of New South Wales.
So when Jed was a little ill earlier in the week, Harrison took gold in the PR3 single. Our co-commentator Richard Dorstein has just confirmed, and Mac was the silver medalist. Jed is an experienced international sweep rower, but he's only just moving into sculling now because there is no event internationally for the PR3 men's single scull, and the PR3 mixed double scull has not been the focus of the Australian team because there wasn't an event at the Olympics, at the Paralympics, and sadly that's what we get funding for. So you've got to focus on what you get funding for so that our sport benefits overall.
So Stuart John from the ACT is in 4th place, and Victorian Aaron Skinner is in 5th place. Stuart John is coached by William Hatcher at the ACT, currently the acting CEO of Rowing ACT.
Indeed. Man of many talents, including his commentary.
He came to Queensland last year to catch up with his parents, and he rowed at my club at Pine Rivers Rowing Club for a month or so. We arranged a boat for him, and he trained almost daily while he was up there. There's still young Harrison Nichols of New South Wales looking to put New South Wales in front in the point score for the Rowing Australia Cup. It's the sky blue out in front over the South Australian Jed Altschwager in 2nd place. Then back to the Queenslander Mac Russell, ACT Stuart John, and Victoria's Aaron Skinner is in 5th place. But that's a very handsome lead, Lizzie.
It is indeed. So at 1,000 metres, Harrison had just 1 length over Jed Altschwager, about 3 seconds, but he's extending that lead now in this 3rd 500. I reckon there'll be
You'd say he's going right on with the job, Lizzie.
He certainly is. I met him for the first time at the New South Wales State Team dinner, and is a very impressive young individual, I must say.
And there's one bloke who'll be sitting here very excited with this performance. His name's Chad King.
Yes, he will be very happy to see this. So Jed, who's been selected into the PR3 mixed double scull, as we mentioned, a very exciting combination of Jed, who is in this race, and Nikki Ayres, who will be watching in the next race as she competes in the PR3 single scull for the ACT. A very exciting combination, but in the PR3 mixed double scull race here at the National Championships, Harrison Nichols doubled up with Lisa Greisel, who's unable to be here at the regatta today because she has a family wedding. But hello, Lisa, I'm sure she's going to be reviewing these races on when she replays the live stream later on. And they made a really good double. It can definitely be improved, but they really raced as hard as they could, and we're only about 3 or 4 lengths down on Jed and Nikki. And Lisa has been rowing with Jed as well, which is great. It's really improved her sculling, and it's been great for Jed, whilst Nikki has been training elsewhere.
Harrison's far enough in front to have a look over the shoulder there, look around to see what's behind him, how far still to go. And he's coming past the corporate areas, past all the big white marquees that Rowing WA and Rowing Australia have provided. And it's going to be a very, very impressive win from this young man, representing his state of New South Wales in the Interstate Men's PR3 Single Scull Championship of Australia. Harrison Nichols, coached by Odin McIntosh, just off the pace in the first 20 strokes or so, but that's a very impressive win. New South Wales first, South Australia second, Queensland third. 4th currently is the ACT, and 5th is Victoria. But a big win to Harrison Nichols of New South Wales in the first of our 10 interstate races. 7:51.28, and the margins 9.24 and 9.73.
Mac Russell, he's had a big regatta. He's raced so hard and so well. Mac, we wish you all the very best in France. So exciting to see you going over there and doing that. And he is going to be doubling up with Julia Story, who we'll see in the next race. Duke, she did, yes. We haven't got to that race yet, though, Razor.
Stuart John, dive into the line now. Well done, Stuart. He's done a great job doing commentary. Well done, Stuart John. He'll finish in 4th place. He's done a great job doing commentary this week.
Oh, good race.
Well as being the acting CEO of Rowing ACT, and he's going to get across and get 4th place and points for the ACT in the Interstate Regatta. Well done, Stuart John. And 5th is Victoria, Aaron Skinner.
Stuart very happy with his row, and so he should be an excellent race between him and Aaron Skinner, the veteran Aaron Skinner. So confirming the results of the Interstate Men's PR3 Single Scull, a win for New South Wales, Harrison Nichols, coached by Odin McIntosh. A silver medal for South Australia, Jed Altschwager, coached by Nicholas Mitchell. And a bronze medal for Queensland, Mac Russell, coached by Michael Russell. A 4th place for the ACT, Stuart John, coached by William Hatcher. And 5th for Victoria, Aaron Skinner, coached by David Skinner. The winning time, 7 minutes 51.28. We now move to the second interstate race, which is the women's PR3 single scull. Queensland are in lane 3, represented by Kaylee Mitchell, coached by Benjamin Southwell. Nikki Ayres from the ACT in lane 4, coached by Dave Framano and Tom Krieber. In lane 5, representing New South Wales, Julia Story, coached by Kathleen Hextall. And in lane 6, Victoria, represented by Susanna Lutz, coached by Eleanor Croot.
And it looks like Susanna Lutz is well up in contention there, along with Julia Story. And then back to Kaylee Mitchell. Nikki Ayres is right up there as well. There's the ACT across her back. And
yep.
New South Wales, Julia Story, and ACT, Nikki Ayres up at the head of the field. A big shout out to Reinhold Barchi, who's watching the live streaming. So you know you're a legend when they name a building after you. So hope you're enjoying our coverage, Reinhold, back in Canberra, watching the rowing.
So Queensland are in lane 3. Last year they placed 4th with Rebecca Markwell representing them. Hello Rebecca, I know you're here on the grounds and watching this race along with your family and your wonderful coach Alan Goff. In lane 4, Beck Jones was the representative for ACT last year, and she took the bronze medal. For 2021 it was Nikki, and 2019 it was Nikki Ayres, who you see in front of you, and both times she took gold. In lane 5,
looking to get another gold here.
I'm sure she is. I'm absolutely sure she is. And as we said before, she's just been selected into the National PR3 Mixed Double Scull, which is not only a World Championship event, but also a Paralympic event. So she and Jed will be hopefully going to the World Championships to try and qualify this boat for the Paris Paralympics. In lane 5 we have Julia Story from New South Wales, and as we said, she represented Australia for the first time 20 years ago when she went to the Milan World Championships in the mixed PR3 Coxed 4. Last year it was Lisa Greisel that represented New South Wales, and she won a silver. The year before that was Bronte Marshall, who's also here today. Hello Bronte. And Julia represented New South Wales in 2019 and won a silver.
And the multi-talented Jess Gallagher, of course, winning it for Victoria last year.
And the year before, and the year before, 2021, yes. So
represented Australia in a number of different sports, but it's Nikki Ayres just on a length clear of Susanna Lutz. So Nikki Ayres for the ACT, where she's coached by David Framano and Thomas Krieber. She's just on a length clear of Susanna Lutz from Victoria, coached by Eleanor Croot. Then back in 3rd place, a close force contest, but it's Julia Story in 3rd, and Queensland's Kaylee Mitchell is in 4th place.
And I think a big shout out to Kaylee Mitchell, because I don't think she's been rowing for very long. And every regatta I see her race at, and it's not been very many, she's improved remarkably. So to be representing Queensland so early in your rowing career is a good sign of things to come.
And we had Nikki Ayres up for an interview yesterday, and she's
wonderful.
She's a ambassador for the Thrive with Pride program, and spoke absolutely beautifully about more than just her rowing.
100%. Yeah.
She gave very freely of herself about her personal life, and I thought that was fantastic.
So Nikki has a leg impairment that was caused by a rugby injury and the way it was handled and treated afterwards. Nikki is a trained nurse, and she just completed a course in midwifery because she wants to
be in the Flying Doctors. Yeah, she said she is. She's an intensive care unit nurse who's gone back and done midwifery so she can end up being a nurse with the Flying Doctors. So she's got a very strong community focus, there's no doubt about that.
100%, and she's also very focused on achieving goals like going to Paris in the Paralympics double. She went to Tokyo in the Paralympic mixed coxed four.
This race is umpired by Caroline Schomburg from Queensland, who's also a FISA, well, a World Rowing accredited umpire. Right. I struggle with that, Lizzie. World Rowing as opposed to FISA.
So do I.
Being male, pale, stale.
You mustn't keep saying, less of this negative self-talk, please.
Okay. And no one's liberated a lobster today yet, as far as we've seen.
We got great conditions, and Nikki Ayres is making use of them. She has extended her lead over Susanna Lutzi. However, I must say Susanna Lutzi is sculling really, really well. She's quite new to sculling because she did rowing at school. Again, she has a leg impairment. Hers is a foot impairment. But she's really beginning to get the grasp of sculling and starting to move that boat quite well.
You know where the school was, Lizzie? Is she straight out of school? Or?
No, I think she left school last year. She was still rowing for her school the first time I saw her, which was Barrington, 2019.
Okay. Yeah.
No, 2020 Barrington, wasn't it?
Yes. No, we didn't have it. We didn't play in 2020.
No, we didn't.
No. But Nikki Ayres, as I said, is coached by David Framano, the head coach at the ACT High Performance Program, and Thomas Krieber. And she's got to look back at the rest of the field, doing a great job. She's had a great regatta, and she's making an interstate gold medal her priority here on Sunday to join the rest of the medals that she's won during the week. And she's doing it in fine style. Only a handful in the peloton, all cheering on their charges. I saw someone getting coffee yesterday. I was a bit astounded by the number of people on bicycles. They thought there was a bike race on here as well. No, that's just all the coaches. Watch an Olympics or a World Championship, and hope you see one when one of them comes down. You can see 30 or 40 of them go down usually. Some end up in the drink. So Nikki Ayres, well done to her. The ACT maximum points coming up for the ACT in race 615 on day 7 of the Australian Rowing Championships. The Interstate Women's PR3 Single Scull. First, Australian Capital Territory, Nikki Ayres. Second, Victoria, Susanna Lutzer. Third will be New South Wales, Julia Story. And fourth will be Queensland's Kaylee Mitchell. 8:48.75, 8:48.75. The margin 9.36 between first and second. So Susanna Lutzer absolutely spent there, but she chased hard all the way down the course. Julia Story will be across next. 23.09 between second and third. Fourth now is Queensland's Kaylee Mitchell. Well done to her.
Yeah, that's really good. Great race for her, it really was. And I might be wrong here, but I have coached Nikki Ayres quite a lot in the single, and I think that's the fastest she's ever gone. So congratulations, Nikki. Really exciting. The presentation of medals for the Interstate Men's PR3 Single Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Gordon Marks, member of the Para Commission of World Rowing. Third place and bronze medalist, Queensland, represented by Mac Russell. Mac is coached by Michael Russell. Second place and silver medalist, South Australia, represented by Jed Altschwager. Jed is coached by Nick Mitchell. Gold medalist and interstate champion, New South Wales, Harrison Nichols. Harrison is coached by Odin McIntosh. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2023 champions and medalists in the interstate men's PR3 single scull.
And race 616 is underway, the interstate men's single scull for the President's Cup.
In lane 1, representing South Australia, we have Alexander Hill. In lane 2, representing the ACT, Caleb Antill. In lane 3, representing Western Australia, Sam Marsh. In lane 4, representing New South Wales, Campbell Watts. In lane 5, representing Victoria, Dom Frederico. In lane 6, representing Tasmania, Joseph Wilson. And in lane 7, representing Queensland, Cormac Kennedy Leverett.
New South Wales, the defending champions in this event, but it was David Bartolo who rode in that event. But at the moment, it is the Queenslander Cormac Kennedy Leverett who's got his bow in front of a fantastic race between about 5 scullers. On the far side, South Australia's Alex Hill, Nick Mitchell, and James McRae tells him he is co-coaching Alex Hill. Caleb Antill, coached by David Fermano and Thomas Krieber. Then Sam Marsh, coached by Stefano Peloso. Campbell Watts by Don McLaughlin, Dom Frederico, Joseph Wilson, Cormac Kennedy Leverett, coached here by Ben Southwell, but currently at the ACT Academy of Sport, where he's coached by David Fermano. And it is Alex Hill who's on the screen in Station 1. It's Cormac Kennedy Leverett in 7, who leads from South Australia's Alex Hill in Station 1, just about 3/4 of a length between 1st and 7th at this juncture. So Bartolo had a great World Championship last year. He won the event last year for New South Wales, but Campbell Watts is the designated sculler this year. David Bartolo, I don't think, has rode at the regatta at all.
No, he's carrying an injury, so he had to withdraw. So Campbell Watts was the reserve for the King's Cup 8 and pretty good sculler. I think
Pretty good sculler, all right.
Has a medal or two, so in he jumps, and he has got the best attitude, I must say, Campbell Watts. He's a team man through and through.
So we've got 1st and 2nd in the Australian Championship here in Caleb Antill and Cormac Kennedy Leverett. We've got an Olympic gold medalist, albeit in sweep rowing, and silver medals in Alex Hill in Station 1 on the far side.
And Alex Hill was the gold medalist in 2019 and 2021 and didn't contest the race last year. Can't remember why.
Well, he was trying to be a sculler and he's having arm injuries.
Trying to be a sweep rower, wasn't he? That's right.
Well, he was doing all sorts of things, but arguably our best male athlete. There you go. I'm throwing that into the conversation. But at the moment, it's Cormac Kennedy Leverett who leads through the 1,500 metre mark. I was at the Under-23 World Championships last year when Cormac rode beautifully in the preliminary rounds. He won his heat, he won his quarter-final, he won his semi-final, all three very convincingly, and then very disappointingly finished 4th in the final. And he's trying to make up for that, and he's making every post a winner here in the President's Cup. He's got 2 former President's Cup winners from Queensland here watching him. Richard Powell won it 3 times. Duncan Free won it 7 times. We got Rowdy Loveridge from Western Australia who won it. He's here, as well as Brenton Terrell who won it for South Australia. So there's 10, 11, 12 President's Cups on the sideline watching this year's 2023 President's Cup, and it is the Queenslander Cormac Kennedy Leverett from the Gold Coast, from Griffith University Surfers Paradise Rowing Club. And look at the race for second, Lizzie. Alex Hill under the pump from the Western Australian Sam Marsh. And then in the middle is Caleb Anthill and Campbell Watts in the mix as well. The Victorian Dom Frederico and Joseph Wilson just a little off the pace, but it looks like an all-the-way win coming up for Cormac Kennedy Leverett. He's got 15 or 16 strokes to go. He's making every post a winner. And on this event, he's coached by Ben Southwell, but currently at the ACT Academy of Sport. And the President's Cup once again will go to Queensland. Cormac Kennedy Leverett in lane 7 will be first. Great finish from the ACT's Caleb Anthill will be second. What a race for third. Who will it be? Oh, I think it'll be Western Australia over South Australia, then New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania.
So just recapping, I think that's a bit wrong on the screen. Recapping the results as we saw them from the finish tower: a win in the President's Cup for Cormac Kennedy Leverett of Queensland. Second, Caleb Anthill from the ACT. Third, Sam Marsh from Western Australia. The presentation of medals for the Interstate Women's PR3 Single Scull. The medals will be presented by retired Brigadier Alison Cray, board member of Rowing Australia and Vice President of Paralympics Australia. Third place and bronze medalist, New South Wales, represented by Julia Story. Julia is coached by Kathleen Hextall. Second place and silver medalist, Victoria, represented by Susanna Lutzi. Susanna is coached by Eleanor Crute. Gold medalist and interstate champion for 2023, representing the ACT, Nikki Ayres. Nikki is coached by Dave Romano and Tom Creeder. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate all our interstate medalists in the women's PR3 single scull. Oh, how exciting. So we're on to our next race.
Lizzie, it's a bit lonely up there at the start as we have the official result now of the interstate for the President's Cup.
So just in case you're not able to see, Cormac Kennedy Leverett from Queensland confirmed now as the winner of the interstate men's single. Second, Caleb Anthill from the ACT. Third, Sam Marsh from Western Australia. Fourth, Alexander Hill from South Australia. Fifth, Campbell Watts from New South Wales. Sixth, Dom Frederico from Victoria. And seventh, Joseph Wilson from Tasmania. The winning time was 7 minutes, 0.68. And the margin, 3.37 and 1.5. Oh, just 0.17 back to Alex Hill. 2.84 to Campbell Watts. A great race, a great race.
It's real racing, Lizzie.
Let's have another
Cormac
one.
Kennedy Leverett, selected in the Australian team in a sculling squad, I believe.
Yes, I believe so too.
So the Interstate Women's Single Scull Championships for the Nell Slatter Cup is our next race. New South Wales defending champion, but it was Harriet Hudson who rode for New South Wales last year.
It was, and that was because Tara was selected as the single sculler, but contracted COVID, as many of us did.
Including you, Lizzie.
Including myself. The year before that, 2021, Tara represented and won. And obviously 2020, we didn't have an interstate regatta, but in 2019, the New South Wales representative in the single scull was Genevieve Horton, and Jen Horton also won. So we've been defending this title for a few years, and I know how Tara feels about this.
The 19 one was a great race. I remember Caitlin Cronin led for about 1,950 metres.
The Queensland.
It was a fantastic race. It was a really get out and catch me if you can performance.
A bit like we've just seen from Cormac.
Yes, absolutely. So.
Well, Caitlin is representing Queensland in this race, so it's going to be very exciting to see her. She took a little bit of time off after winning a bronze medal at the Olympics with Harriet Hudson, who you've just mentioned, in the quad.
And
she's come back
just
in
waving
the
to the crowd there. Hello, Tim Cronin. And Molly Goodman, representing South Australia. I was able to catch up with Molly yesterday, the first time I've seen her in a while, and she's really enjoying her rowing, and she's got some balance in her life. She's doing a couple of days' work, having had a year off. I said to her, you know, what's good for Molly?
Yes, exactly. So she stroked the women's 8 at the Tokyo Olympics, and she too has taken some time out.
She won a gold medal in the quad yesterday, I think, didn't she?
Yes, she did. And she wasn't in the stroke seat, and we often see Molly in the stroke seat, but yesterday was Laura Gawley in that, young Laura Gawley.
Yep.
Yeah, who I reckon we'll see in the single scull for New South Wales before too long. So,
I was talking to her mum yesterday. I met her mum a couple of years ago, and lovely lady. And yes, Laura is the next big thing by the looks, but she's got to get past the current big thing, which is Tara Rigney.
So she will be our favourite, won't she, in lane 2? Should we run through the lineup?
By all means.
In lane 1, in the interstate women's single scull racing for the Nell Slatter Cup, we have Sarah Ashlin from Tasmania. In lane 2, Tara Rigney for New South Wales, coached by Alfie Young. In lane 3, Jolie Patterson for Western Australia, coached by Jamie Hewlett. In lane 4, Molly Goodman for South Australia, coached by Nick Mitchell. In lane 5, Nicola or Nikki Greenland from ACT, coached by Tom Krieber. In lane 6, Caitlin Cronin from Queensland, coached by Ben Southwell. And in lane 7, Sophie Reiner, representing Victoria.
So obviously Victoria's prioritising the Queen's Cup, otherwise Amanda Bateman would be in that boat, would she not?
I think you're right there, yes.
And I've got information through about the Queen's Cup that we'll share with that race later on with people who've won it on multiple occasions, including Margaret McKenzie won the race 8 times for 2 different states.
Did she really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a very interesting bit of trivia, and I do hope Margaret is tuning in. Hello, Margaret.
It's mostly a fours race back in Margaret's day. Margaret Agnew, as she was, so, and rode for both New South Wales and Victoria, and is a life member of both, as well as Rowing Australia.
I did not know that. There we go.
So yes, hello Marg if you're watching. And they're in the starter's hands. I reckon that's a really good line. Who is our liner? He's obviously he or she is a perfectionist. Phil Fraser from Tasmania is our liner, and you're doing a wonderful job there, Phil, that's for sure. Affectionately known as Fritz. Let's see, there's no... yes, they're all moving forward and getting ready. And attention, I would suggest, has been set. The variable pause, and away they go. And Tara Rigney, even after 2 strokes, was in front. He took off. I wish some of the horses I backed could get out that quick. She got out really quickly on this side of the course in lane 2. She didn't break or anything like that. She just got great connection with the first 2 strokes and was off. And as was Caitlin Cronin over in Station 7. So not surprisingly, these 2 are probably the favoured contenders, along with Molly Goodman, one would suggest. So, lane 7 over this side, lane 6 over this side, Caitlin Cronin representing Queensland. On the far side in lane 2, Tara Rigney representing New South Wales. Alfie Young is a coach as far as this event is concerned. But she's at the National Training Centre. We can see some of our spectators down there watching. It is Cronin and Rigney that have got away best. There's no doubt about that. Sarah Ashland from Tasmania, representing her home state, doing a good job in Station 1. Jolie Patterson, coached by Jamie Hewlett for Western Australia. Jamie, the head coach at the Western Australian Institute of Sport these days, I believe.
He certainly is, yeah.
And Molly Goodman, coached by Nick Mitchell, who's the head coach at the South Australian Sports Institute. And Nicola Greenland, coached by Thomas Krieber, who's there with David Fermano at the ACT. And it's hard to line them up, but maybe Caitlin Cronin's trying to break the field up like she did in 2019. She used these tactics in 2019 and 21, I should say, and almost pulled off an upset. But Tara Rigney's right there with her. Rigney's gone through about a metre in the lead. 153.38, 0.33 over Caitlin Cronin. Then 2 lengths, or 6.44 back to Molly Goodman. 0.81 to Sophie Reiner. Sarah Ashland is next. Nicola Greenland and Jolie Patterson is at the rear of the field. But unsurprisingly, it's Tara Rigney leading Caitlin Cronin and Molly Goodman through the first 500 in the Interstate Women's Single Scull Championship of Australia for the Nell Slatter Cup. It used to be the Nell Slatter Trophy once.
Yes, I know. I think we need to go and have a look at it and see if it is a trophy or a
Decide
cup.
whether it's a cup or a trophy.
Yeah, so Sophie Reiner, a member of the Mercantile Rowing Club and one of the up-and-coming athletes, much as Sarah Ashland from Tasmania is. So fairly new to the scene. I think she rode at Henley Royal Regatta last year. I seem to remember seeing her name there, and she was a trialist also, I think the last couple of years. So good to see her on the scene and representing Victoria in the single scull. And we've also got Nikki Greenland in lane 5, who is, you mentioned she's from the ACT. She is, but she's also studying at the Sydney University and races for the Sydney University Boat Club. So she's been up and down the course here representing SUBC. Recently, she is coached by Tom Lorridge there. And then Jolie Patterson from the West Australian Institute of Sport, coached by Jamie Hewlett, another up-and-coming athlete. So a great opportunity for them to do a good hard race, which isn't a trial in front of selectors, but you're here passionately representing your state. And there we see Sophie Reiner with the big white V on her back.
I think we need to talk to the team manager for New South Wales, Lizzie, about getting a big blue N on the back of their scullers.
Yes.
Who might that be?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
So Tara Rigney, 2.67 seconds clear of Caitlin Cronin through the 1,000 metre mark. Camera honing in on Molly Goodman, doing a good job in third place, albeit 10 seconds behind Cronin. And they're our medalists at this juncture. Then fourth is Sophie Reiner. She's doing a really good job, Sophie Reiner, for Victoria.
She is.
Then for Sarah Ashland and Nicola Greenland. But what can we say about Tara Rigney? Actually, her cousin has done a lot of work for Ted & Co, who run the Australian Rowing Championship, Fred Taylor.
Right.
Stu Rich, who has done a lot of work for Fred in previous national championships, mostly in Penrith, but he was in Ngambie last year. He would probably be watching if there was not a horse race on somewhere.
And there we see Nikki Greenland representing the ACT. Nikki is going to be doubling up. She's going to come off the singles race and jump into the Queen's Cup 8 to represent ACT a second time today.
As will Cormac Kennedy Leverett in the King's Cup.
Oh, is he really? Good for him. That's exciting.
And Caitlin Cronin's mum and dad are certainly here at the regatta. I saw them a couple of days ago. And they're here supporting their daughter. She's had a great couple of years, being able to do degrees in things and go back and make the Olympic team and win a bronze medal.
100%.
Yeah. Tim and Tracy out in the crowd there as we see the tents not being buffeted today. Perfect conditions for racing as we come into the first line of tents with less than 1,000 metres to go, heading towards just 500 to go. And it's Tara Rigney on the far side and Caitlin Cronin on this side.
And the conditions have just turned around completely this week, haven't they? And now we have the Champion Lakes here in Perth that everybody tells us about.
At its absolute best.
Yeah, and it certainly was like that the week before last when I was here for the Canoe Sprint Championships. It was often like this and then got windier. And it's just one of those things, isn't it? Sometimes you get good weather, sometimes you don't. It's an outdoor sport. You have to be ready for anything, but it is marvellous to have such nice conditions for our interstate regatta, where we celebrate all of these hard-working athletes that have brought us a lot of pleasure over the last week, racing up and down, and continue to bring a great deal of joy as we see them compete with each other in the smallest craft possible in rowing.
The weather gods are obviously Australians and understand the need to have good conditions for the interstate regatta.
So Tara Rigney, a good lead now.
Making the most of it. She has got 3 lengths over Caitlin Cronin in second place. Bronze medalist as last year's World Championship, Tara. And looking to go better than that at this year's World Championships. Already selected in the single. And doing an excellent job. Caitlin Cronin in the quad. Stroked the quad in Tokyo.
Yeah, she's a great stroke. She stroked the quad quite often, actually. And a number of these girls, so for example, Caitlin, Harriet, Jen Horton, all rowed together, Rowena Meredith, from under 23s right through to senior and now Olympic level. And here doing battle, I think Tara was off playing netball when they were doing that, but she's...
Well, thank goodness she found a real sport. So New South Wales' Tara Rigney is going to go across the line in fine style to win the Nell Slatter Cup. Second will be Queensland's Caitlin Cronin. Third then will be South Australia's Molly Goodman. And then, wow, have a look at fourth, Lizzie. All of them still in contention. Sarah Ashland, Jolie Patterson, Nicola Greenland and Sophie Reiner. And it's all about the points you earn for your state.
It certainly is. Across on the far side is Sarah Ashland on the side near the car park.
The Victorians know what points are worth. Have a look at Sophie Reiner coming home. Oh, I don't know. Tasmania.
Well, there's a hint there that it could be Sarah Ashland from Tasmania, but I think...
No, Tasmania will be 6th. Tasmania will be 6th. The ACT will be 7th. 4th and 5th. Let's wait, shall we? Oh, they've given it a call there, but I'm not sure about that.
Oh, they've got Caitlin Cronin down twice and Sarah Ashland down twice too. It's always, so if you're very interested in all of this, you press a button in the finish tower as you see the bows cross the line, and it's very hard when you're under pressure. So we'll reconfirm those results as soon as the judges have decided. The presentation of medals and the President's Cup for the Interstate Men's Single Scull Championship of Australia. The medals and the President's Cup will be presented by Rob Scott, President of Rowing Australia and Olympic silver medalist. Third place and bronze medalist representing Western Australia, Sam Marsh. Sam is coached by Stefano Belosso. Second place and silver medalist, representing the ACT, Caleb Antill. Caleb is coached by Dave Romano and Tom Krieber. Gold medalist and champion for 2023, representing Queensland, Cormac Kennedy Leverett. Cormac is coached by Ben Southwell. The President's Cup is now being presented by Rob Scott to Cormac Kennedy Leverett. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2023 Australian champion and the medalists in the Interstate Men's Single Scull. believe we are now able to confirm the results of the Interstate Women's Single Scull. It was a win for Tara Rigney of New South Wales. Second, Caitlin Cronin of Queensland. Third, Molly Goodman of South Australia. Fourth, Sophie Reiner of Victoria. Fifth, Nicola Greenland of ACT. Sixth, Sarah Ashlin of Tasmania. And seventh, Joelle Patterson of Western Australia. Winning time 7 minutes 42.07.
I said in the call, Lizzie, the Victorians know where the points are. So she would have had no uncertain message that if you can't get on the first three, get fourth. Maximise the points for
100%. 100%.
Shot of that bird there. Look at that. So, Lizzie, our next race is the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4 for the Penrith Cup.
And always an exciting one, this one, because they all weigh the same weight. In lane 2, representing Victoria, we have a crew of Jordan Roberts, Thomas Hastings, Charles Raden and Benjamin Whitney, coached by Al Matthews from Mercantile. In lane 3, representing Tasmania, we have Dion Birtwistle, Laurie Dean, Connor Ryan and Oscar Birtwistle, coached by Trevor Barrett. In lane 4, representing South Australia, Kyle Miller, Oscar McGuinness, Mitchell Moore and Charlie Moore, coached by Sam Morton. In lane 5, representing New South Wales, James Waldersea, Jack Henderson, Jason Waddell and Sean Murphy, coached by Mick Smith and Graham Gardner. In lane 6 from Western Australia, Mario Lepresti, Patrick Burr, Perry Ward and Rowan James, coached by Neville Kempton and Stefano Belosso. And in lane 7, Queensland, represented by Jack Price, Blaine Heseltine, Christian Place and Jack Bowser, coached by Gus Rodero and Mark Game.
3 of the 4 who won this event last year. Williamson was the other one. Christian Place has come into the crew, but Jack Price has won this event on about 5 occasions, I think. 5 or 6 occasions. And built an imposing record. There's Caitlin Cronin getting a hug from her dad. Richard Powell there as well, congratulating her as these crews for the Penrith Cup, which began many years ago, and the cup was donated by the Penrith City Council. Now, the Margaret Mackenzie information before, that was the ULVA trophy, it used to be called then. United Licensed Victuallers Association, I think it was. And thank you to Michael Toon for that information.
And to explain a little further about the Penrith Cup, we've mentioned already that it's for lightweight men's coxless 4s. So what that means is there is a weight limit for each of the rowers in the 4. They are capped at an individual weight of 72.5, and the whole crew has to average 70 kilos, which is really not very much at all.
Not more than 70, yes, that's
yes,
right.
Not more than 70 as a crew average. So that means some people can be 72.5, but somebody else needs to be 67.5 to balance them out. Last year, Queensland took first place. They're in lane 7 this year. Last year, New South Wales took the silver medal. They're in lane 5 this year. And last year, Victoria took the bronze medal. They're in lane 2 this year.
So New South Wales, Jason Waddell, is he one of the Penrith Waddells?
He is indeed, yes. He is from the Waddell family, who are very involved at Nepean Rowing Club. And Jason is, I can't remember, he told me the other day that his first team, I think it might have been 2011. Or it might have been well before then, but I think he was in the Youth 8 with Spencer Turren and Hamish Playfair and people like that. So
and Sean Murphy's back.
Sean Murphy's back.
Hasn't had a haircut while he's been away, obviously. And they're underway, Lizzie, in the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4 for the Penrith Cup. And lightweight 4 racing, so sad to see it not in the Olympic Games program, because it is the highlight race at any regatta, because everybody's the same size and invariably it provides a close race.
Indeed.
Invariably a close race. And on the far side of the course, the Tasmanians have got away well with the father-son combination. Dion Birtwistle and his son Oscar Birtwistle in that crew, accompanied by Laurie Dean and Connor Ryan. Trevor Barrett from North Esk Rowing Club is coaching that crew. very little to choose in the early stages between all 6 boats. Victoria have had a very good history in this, and a number of years ago it was either Western Australia or Tasmania, year about they'd have, and they had some cracking races over time. And I see the Western Australian crew, Perry Ward, who was on a number of Australian teams that I had the pleasure of managing, is here rowing for Western Australia. So he's not 25 anymore either, I've got to tell you. So it is the Queenslanders that lead, but have a look at the charge behind them as the camera catches up with the action. Victoria may well be in second place. They are just 0.38 behind Queensland, 0.59 to Tasmania, 0.72 to South Australia. And as I said, I repeat, why is it not in the Olympic Games? The best race of the regatta so far, 1.63 back to New South Wales, 0.28 back to Western Australia. So the far side Queensland, this side Queensland, the far side Victoria. Hard to line them up, but they're the 2 leading boats through the first 500 metres, Lizzie.
And so keen on New South Wales to win this event that they've brought back Mick Smith and Graham Gardner, who are world champions in the lightweight men's coxless 4.
Last century.
Indeed, yeah, quite some time ago. But it's wonderful to bring back your alumni, isn't it, to get involved in things like this. And not quite sure what it's going to do for them, because it's neck and neck, and at the end of the day it's right down to the athletes and how they combine together in that 4. It's so close.
And the pace proving a bit hot to the father and son combination from Tasmania, but they're still there and hanging on, and Western Australia just a bit off the pace there. Mario Lepresi, Patrick Boer, Perry Ward and Rowan James, Neville Kempton and Stefano Peloso coaching that crew. So it's Queensland on the near side, Victoria on the far side, still first and second. And I'm looking at the name of the boat there, the Patrick Madden, being rowed by South Australia. 30 years ago, South Australia won this event, and a couple of the winners are here. James Seppel and Ned Drayden are here in the crowd watching this event. And just 0.62 between Queensland and Victoria after 1,000 metres. 2.19 to the tenacious Tasmanians. 0.3 to South Australia. And New South Wales and Western Australia have got the job in front of them. Our umpire coming up behind there is Chris Tucker, keeping an eye and making sure these boats are straight and that the safety of the athletes is absolutely paramount, as the South Australian crew, Kyle Miller, Oscar McGuinness, Mitchell Moore and Charlie Moore. I know many in the crowd fancies the chances of this South Australian crew, but at the moment it's the crews on the extremities. Queensland on this side, Victoria on the far side, fighting out the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia for the Penrith Cup.
I'm having a look at the New South Wales 4. That's Sean Murphy in the 2 seat, not in the stroke seat. So not sure who they've got in the stroke seat there.
Are you sure it's him?
Yeah, recognise that hair anywhere. And the passion with which he rows.
And a big shout out to Darren Purcell, who's not been well over recent times, won a world championship in 2011 and the first person to stroke a Queensland Penrith Cup winning crew. So all the best to you, Dazza, down in Tasmania. But it looks like Queensland has moved out a bit here, don't you think, Lizzie, over the Victorians on the far side?
It certainly looks like that, yeah.
But Victoria are under pressure now from Tasmania and South Australia. What a great result it would be if the father and son combination, Dion Birtwistle and Oscar Birtwistle, could get on the podium. I said yesterday, Dion was away with the Australian rowing team in 2003 when his wife rang to say, I'm pregnant. And here he is rowing with little Oscar. And it is Queensland on this side, Victoria on the far side, still first and second. Look at the race for third. What a cracking event the Lightweight 4 is and always has been and will continue to be, hopefully.
Well, it certainly will be at this interstate regatta. That's a massive push being made by Tasmania now to try and get past those South Australians. Those South Australians, though, matching them stroke for stroke. In fact, they have. They've just upped their rate of striking in order to try and move clear. Here we go, folks. Last 250 metres, and it's just so close.
Look at the peloton, Lizzie. Plenty of support. Victoria on the far side. Queensland on this side. A big white V on the bow. A big white Q on this side. And in the middle, they're fighting for the bronze medal. Queensland closest to the spectators. Victoria closest to the car park on the far side. Maybe Victoria could have their bow in front. Queensland and Victoria, stroke for stroke as they go to the line in the Interstate Lightweight Championship of Australia. It's the Victorians have hit the front. Victoria first, Queensland second. South Australia have got up for third. Tasmania will be fourth, fifth will be Western Australia, and sixth will be New South Wales. What a cracking race.
Confirming the results of the Penrith Cup, the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4, a win for Victoria. Second, Queensland. Third, South Australia. Fourth, Tasmania. Fifth, Western Australia. And sixth, New South Wales. The unofficial time, 6 minutes 24.25. The margin, 0.97. The presentation of medals and the Nell Slatter Cup for the Interstate Women's Single Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Rachel Kinnemonth, Olympian, Rowing Australia board member and chair of the Rowing Australia High Performance Committee. Third place and bronze medalist from South Australia, Molly Goodman. Molly is coached by Nick Mitchell. Second place and silver medalist representing Queensland, Caitlin Cronin. Caitlin was coached by Ben Southwell. Gold medalist and defending the championship held by New South Wales, Tara Rigney. Tara is coached by Alfie Young. The Nell Slatter Cup will now be presented by Rachel Kinnemonth, OAM, to Tara Rigney. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate all our medalists in the Interstate Women's Single Scull.
So the Interstate Lightweight Women's Quadruple Scull for the Victoria Cup. At one stage, this was the longest winning sequence of interstate races when this was a Coxless 4.
Right.
I think Victoria won it 15 years in a row. Ridiculous amount.
So just very quickly, we're just checking, what we brought to you as the results are now up on the screen. Victoria, the winners in the Penrith Cup, Queensland second, South Australia third, time of 6:24.20. That margin now adjusted to 1.24 and then 2.69 back to South Australia. Tasmania fourth, Western Australia fifth, New South Wales sixth. We have another lightweight event now, this for the women, but instead of a Coxless 4, which is sweep rowing, we are into sculling and we have a quadruple scull without a cox again. They are racing for a trophy called the Victoria Cup. We have New South Wales in lane 2, Queensland in lane 3, Victoria in lane 4, Tasmania in lane 5 and Western Australia in lane 6. New South Wales are closest to the camera in the Empaca yellow boat. The crew is Grace Cypher, Sophie Gerapetritis, Georgia Mansaro and Lucy Coleman. The coaches, Jack Hanley and Kieran Glynn.
And a big happy birthday to Grace Cypher's dad, George, who's turning 25 in some months today.
Happy birthday, George. In lane 3, the Queensland crew is Olivia Cook, Imogen Walker, Jemima Powell and Mackenzie Durbridge, coached by Michael Russell and David Vandas. The Victorian crew is in lane 4, Demi Kyriakopoulos, Charlotte Ball, Maggie Foley and Antonietta Di Cosmo. Coaches are Virginia Lee and Eleanor Crute. In lane 5, we have the crew from Tasmania, this year represented by Phoebe Teal, Sophie Robinson, Eve Muir and Annika Reardon, coached by Paul Newborn, and we'll come back to that crew in a moment.
Exactly.
And then the crew in Western Australia is Lara Glendinning, Susanna Gravestock, Lola Davies and Ruth Morris, coached by Matthew Cochrane and George White. Now, last year's winners, Razor, were Tasmania. They have always had superb crews, and they've got another one again this year with Phoebe Teal making her debut. But last year, I think what we should mention really, last year they were stroked to victory by Georgia Nesbitt, who's not with us this year.
No, Georgia suffered a cycling accident a couple of weeks ago, and she's seriously ill in hospital in Tasmania. She's actually got some movement in her hands now, and her feet have been moving. She actually poked her tongue out at someone, I understand. So thank you to Paul Newborn, who's been keeping me up to date. Paul's in constant contact with Georgia's mum, a lovely girl, Georgia. She was on a couple of teams I managed, and
100%.
recently appointed to the board of Rowing Tasmania, and was starting to pursue a career, and unfortunately knocked by a car, I think, and suffered head injuries, a broken jaw and a bleed on the brain. And our prayers and thoughts are with Georgia and her family. The whole rowing community feels for her, and we just wish Georgia all the very best, and for any recovery that she can make, because it's going to be a long road. There's 2 or 3 days forward and then one back. So our greatest wishes and hopes are for Georgia and her family. And also in this crew who was in it last year is Eve Muir.
Yep.
And Eve is retiring at this National Championships. Her mum and dad are here, Judy and Will. Her brothers are probably at home running the business. Muir's restaurant on the waterfront there in Hobart, and the fishing boat that they have. They've won more trophies again this year from Tourism Australia for their restaurant. So we wish Eve Muir all the very best in her retirement from rowing, but in business with the family. So, yeah, it's quite a important announcement to make about Georgia Nesbitt.
Yes, it's good to hear some updates. Yeah.
And
So-
Paul Newborn has been her coach, and Noobs keeping us in touch with what's going on.
That's really great to hear. And Paul Newborn is the coach of this Tasmanian quad. So Georgia Nesbitt, who we've mentioned, made her debut for the her first Victoria Cup in 2011, but she debuted for Australia exactly 10 years ago, 2013, when she was on the under-23 team with the 3-girl in the New South Wales quad, Georgia Mansaro. And the two of them went on to row together quite often for Australia at under-23s and then later at senior level.
Yes, I thought when I spoke to Georgia Mansaro yesterday,
Yes.
I can't believe it's 10 years ago that she was on the team with me in Korea.
That's right. That's exactly right,
Wow.
yeah.
No wonder I'm so old.
So in the lane 4, we have the crew from Victoria. Charlotte Ball, who was in the Junior Women's 8 last year for Australia, is in the 2-seat. The very experienced Maggie Foley, great lightweight sculler, she's in the 3-seat. And then on either side, Demi Kyriakopoulos and Antonietta Di Cosmo, lightweights who row at Banks Rowing Club, I believe, who are always there in the lightweight rowing and have a lot of fun. And I'm quite sure they were behind that lightweight 8 that raced in the Open 8s yesterday. I think that was partly them that got that together. And they're coached by Virginia Lee. Virginia, who is our one of only 2 women in Australia to hold an Olympic medal in lightweight rowing. Virginia and Rebecca Joyce, who won the bronze medal in the lightweight double scull at the 1996 Olympics. So Virginia, she's coached the Victoria Cup crew a couple of times now, I think. She is the leader of the Albert Park College school program, and it's great to see her back coaching Victoria again. In the Queensland crew, we have young up-and-comers with Olivia Cook, Imogen Walker, Jemima Powell and Mackenzie Durbridge. Their coach is Michael Russell, who is such a great development coach, and David Vandas.
This would be the least experienced Queensland crew I've seen in this event, I would think.
Probably, yeah.
A few years ago with Amy James and others. Amy married only a week or so ago, and former athlete at Brent Canning, and they're on their honeymoon in Paris.
And then we have Lucy Coleman. Crew. They have just been selected into the lightweight women's double to go and contest the World Championships this year and try and qualify the lightweight double for Australia for Paris. Talking of Paris.
The race is well underway now, Lizzie, and based on form shown so far, you would think New South Wales would be the favourite for the event, but the crew from Tasmania has got away well. They're not going to relinquish that title that they won yet last year easily, that's for sure.
Or should
they may well be doing it to try and cheer Georgia Nesbitt up in her fight with injury. So they're in the red boat, and on the far side of the course, New South Wales, Grace Cypher, Sophie Gerapatritis, Georgia Miansaro and Lucy Coleman, coached by Jack Hanley and Kieran Glynn, is certainly the favourites for the event, but the Tasmanians are keeping them honest in the second 500 metres.
And not bad pressure at all from Western Australia, pressing right up there with the Tasmanians, trying to keep them honest. Lara Glendenning, Susanna Gravestock, Lola Davies and Ruth Morris.
But it is New South Wales leading Tasmania, and follows a close fought contest between Victoria and Western Australia, and at the rear is the crew from Queensland. As you said, Lizzie, all youngsters.
Which is great to see, great to see it. I think lightweight women's rowing is alive and well, despite the fact that there are very limited opportunities, particularly at senior level. There are more at under 23 level, and we do have Grace Cypher in the bow seat of the New South Wales 8, who was the lightweight single sculler for Australia at the under 23 World Championships last year and will be again this year.
I've got that wrong. It's actually Queensland's in front of Victoria here, and they're both in dark colours, but at Queensland are in front of Victoria for fourth spot at the moment. So it is the crew from New South Wales, unsurprisingly, out in the lead over Tasmania in second place. See plenty of people watching the big screen. Over 182,000 people had watched our live coverage before the interstate races began, and that usually causes another spike. So we had 168,000 last year. Maybe we can crack 200,000 live views this year as the New South Wales crew sitting nice and tall in the seat. Georgia Miansaro in the 3 seat with that ponytail sitting up on top of her head. She used to get injured a fair bit. She tells me now that she's injury-free and rowing really, really well without injury, and enjoying her rowing greatly. Went off and did some cycling and other things, but at the moment she's in the 3 seat of this leading crew for New South Wales. Grace Cypher up in the bow seat, Sophie Gerapatritis and Lucy Coleman. 4.67 seconds the margin over Tasmania, further 4.66 back to Western Australia, then follows Queensland and Victoria. The young Queensland crew looking to hold off Victoria. The 2 seat there, looks like she's making the calls. So for those of you unfamiliar with quad scull rowing, Lizzie, there'll be someone in the boat who'll be in charge of making calls.
100%, and quite often in the 2 seat, if not then in the bow seat, so that the words can travel back up to the stroke person. So yeah, so in the New South Wales quad, they've got the very experienced Sophie Gerapatritis, represented at under 21 level and at the World University Championships. In the double scull, and very competent. She's been in the New South Wales quad a number of times now, and actually her husband was in the New South Wales lightweight 4 in the previous race.
And are we using steering here, or are we just working on
most
pressure?
certainly. So a quad goes very fast, so you have 8 oars, as we can see, 8 blades going into the water. The only other boat we have which has 8 oars is the Coxed 8, and it has a cox very deliberately because it's so long and goes so fast. A quad goes very fast too, and if you don't have a rudder to be able to steer that boat, then it can things can very quickly get very messy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure I saw once at a country regatta a quad scull actually lift a water skier out of the water.
Oh, really? Well, it wouldn't surprise me, actually. I'm sure.
Wouldn't be able to do it for long, but the Queensland crew has just about got the cue written in their lane. They're having a lot of steering difficulties, as is the crew from Western Australia.
Well, and it's not easy. So you need all 8 of those oars to get into the water at the same time and the same depth if you want your boat to really run straight. And that is so much more easily said than done.
Absolutely. So simply, New South Wales leads convincingly from Tasmania, who in turn lead convincingly from Western Australia. Then back to Queensland, currently in 4th place, but under pressure from Victoria. But no doubt about our gold medalist and the winners of the Victoria Cup. Even with 250 metres left to go, it's going to be a big win for New South Wales. Tasmania will be unable to defend last year's win.
So Georgia, Grace Cypher, I think, has been in this crew before. Georgia Mansara has obviously done it a few times before, but Sophie Gera-Petraitis, her 7th time in the quadruple scull for New South Wales racing in the Victoria Cup. That's some record.
For how many wins? This will be the second.
And this would be the 2nd win.
A thank you to Chris McCarthy for that information. And holding down second is the defending champions Tasmania, but this trophy will be going to New South Wales in 2023 with half a dozen strokes to go. The Lucy Coleman stroke New South Wales crew, Georgia Mansara, Sophie Gera-Petraitis and Grace Cypher behind her. Across the line they go in 1st place. 2nd will be Tasmania, 3rd will be Western Australia, 4th will be Victoria and 5th will be Queensland. 6:51.41 the winning time, 6:51.41.
And they've won by 11 seconds over Tasmania, who in turn have a further 4.5 seconds plus over Western Australia. So as our final crew crosses the line, confirming the results in the Victoria Cup, the Interstate Lightweight Women's Quadruple Scull, a win for New South Wales, 2nd Tasmania, 3rd Western Australia, 4th Victoria, 5th Queensland. Winning time 6:51.41 unofficially, the margins 11.47 and 4.69. The presentation of medals and the Penrith Cup for the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4. The medals and cup will be presented by Anthony Edwards, 3-time Olympic medalist, 5-time Olympian and world champion lightweight rower, accompanied by Ned Drayden, 1993 Penrith Cup winner for South Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, South Australia. Kyle Miller, Oscar McGuinness, Michael Moore, Charlie Moore, the crew was coached by Sam Morton. Second place and silver medalist, Queensland, Jack Price. Blaine Heseltine. Christian Place. Jack Bowser. The crew was coached by Augustin Radero and Mark Game. Gold medalists and champions for Victoria. Jordan Roberts. Thomas Hastings. Charles Raden. Benjamin Whitney. The crew was coached by Alistair Matthews. The Penrith Cup will now be presented by Ned Drayden to Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2023 Australian Interstate champions and medalists in the Interstate Lightweight Men's Coxless 4.
I'm incredibly proud to be a female in the mining industry, led by a great role model for mining, for the Australian economy.
This is the best mining company to work for.
Everyone kind of takes you under their wing.
Being an older person in mining as well, I find that people can come to me for advice.
I did hairdressing for a year before coming to mining. It's the best thing I've ever done.
It offers a level of financial security that women outside of the industry don't necessarily have, and it's just awesome.
We would like women to be safer here than they are anywhere else.
Every day is exciting, there's something happening.
And just get out there, try something new.
This is the engine room of our Australian economy, and we get to be a part of what keeps this country afloat and helps with infrastructure and all the other projects that makes Australia such a fantastic country to live in.
To join us in building an exceptional future, go to buildinganexceptionalfuture.com.au.
So next is the Interstate Men's Youth 8 for the Wilkinson Cup, but prior to that, the official result of the Victoria Cup: first New South Wales, second Tasmania, third Western Australia, fourth Victoria, fifth Queensland. The winning time 6 minutes 51.49. The margins 11.45 by 4.73. And we see just 5 boats, Lizzie, in the Interstate Men's Youth 8 for the Wilkinson Cup.
We do. We have Western Australia in lane 2, New South Wales, last year's winner, in lane 3. In lane 4, Queensland, who were silver medalists last year. In lane 5, Victoria, who were bronze medalists last year. And in lane 6, South Australia, who have a pretty good crew this year. This year, the South Australian crew is Cooper Hoskin, Edward Chipperfield, Jude Shermer, Xavier Van Oygen, Nick Burr, Joshua Felderhoff, Jeremy Beale and Adam Holland. Aidan Hughes is their coxswain, their coach Nicholas Mitchell. The Victorian crew is Massimo Marrow, Tom Foley, Matt Porter, Ryan Cornelius, Jake Polkinghorn, Oliver Scalzo, Austin Reiner and Winston Hooper. Nicholas Gelagotis is their cox and they are coached by Tom Manifi. The Queensland crew is Finley Harris, Bailey Clark, Drew Waitman, Nick Munro, Robert Atkinson, Monty Martin, Lex Tucker, Darcy Watter, and their cox is Lachlan McLean this year. They're coached by Randall Martin. The crew from New South Wales trying to defend last year's title is Alec Hoskin, Charles Jewell, Brandon Smith, Oliver St. Pierre, Mackenzie Thompson, Rory Menzies, Joshua Wilson, Nicholas Pender, and their cox is Bronte Blackmore Cram this year. This year the coaches are Matthias Ungermark and Tim McLaren. And our final crew, the one in lane 2, which is near the car park, closest to the camera, there in the gold, Western Australia, Jacob Cassie, Jacob Sangster, Lachlan Maroney, Apollo Solomon, Charlie Stevenson, Joshua Hankey, Harper Davies, Aria Almasi, and their coxes Krupa Anspach. They're coached by Alex Thompson, Tom Gatty and Justin Colangelo.
Well, over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been some outstanding youth eights come out of New South Wales with some of the biggest margins I've seen at interstate racing. Can we expect the same from this New South Wales Youth 8?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, some of the youthies have moved on up into the King's Cup, youngsters like Jackson Kench and Will O'Shannessy. Some of the people that were in the crew last year are not there this year. In fact, I only really think Nicholas Pender is still there from last year's crew. And that's quite interesting, isn't it? We've had a very settled squad for a number of years, and because of its age limit, which is under 21, it does change. But having said that, we've got a couple of rowers in here who were in the gold medal winning junior international Coxed 4 last year, moving up into the what we call youth age group now, and people like Charles Jewell from UTS Haberfield, who've had a great season, done really well.
So first New South Wales, second Victoria, just 0.95. A length back then to a great race between Queensland and South Australia. So the 5 crews, Western Australia, New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia. New South Wales, the early leaders over Victoria. That's not uncommon in Youth 8 rowing at the Australian Championships for the interstate event. And then third, the bronze medal and more points for your state. Western Australia over on the far side of the course. In between Victoria and New South Wales is the Queensland crew, and closest to the spectators is the crew from South Australia. But New South Wales have nearly got a length's lead, and we're not even to the halfway mark.
And I'm pretty impressed by that South Australian crew. It's coming, Western Australian crew. It's coming up pretty quickly. They're looking as though they're having a great row there. And you know, there's a saying in rowing: it's a champion crew is not necessarily a crew made of champions. So, in some respects, one has to ignore the names that one sees in front of one and just look at how the crew is rowing together.
Yes, absolutely. And the crew that is rowing well is the crew from New South Wales. They have done, as I've said on a number of occasions over the last 3 or 4 years, some outstanding youth eights that have come out of New South Wales. They're currently about 2/3 of a length clear of Victoria, with Queensland holding down 3rd place, and then 2.49 back to Western Australia. There was quite a change in that second 500.
Yeah, there really was. So that's West Australia working through, isn't it?
Yep, and South Australia have gone back to the rear of the field now. So 3 minutes 15 gone there.
Oh, there we go.
Victoria, are they just pegging back that lead a little? Or is that just the angle that the camera's on? I'm not sure.
No, they certainly look as though they're having a great row, that crew. Marrow, Foley, Porter, Cornelius, Polkinghorn, Scalzo, Reiner and Hooper. I'm pretty sure Hooper was in the junior men's 8 for Australia last year.
And New South Wales see them coming, and they just lift their effort just a little more and hang on to that lead, about 2/3 of a length at the 1,000 metre mark.
So it's a very popular event, this Youth 8, both for men and for women. It's a great way to cut your teeth and get involved in representative rowing. A number of these athletes would have done the preliminary, which is the Pathways 8 when you're at school age, and you can represent your state if you are still rowing at school. But this is where you then move into that university level or start working. Some of these lads might still be at school.
Yes, they may well be, but at the moment, New South Wales, they've got out to a length's lead now, as big Lockie Gardner's drone shots right over the top of the racing. And we can see New South Wales leading Victoria. Interest is in the bronze medal now. Queensland hanging on, but under extreme pressure from Western Australia for that bronze medal position. And South Australia are back in 5th place. But it's New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia and South Australia. As you were, South Australia 4th and Western Australia 5th at the moment.
So New South Wales seem to have pulled back on Victoria. There was a big overlap just a little while ago. Now at the 1500 metre mark, probably following a race plan where there's a push, New South Wales seem to have pulled that out now to just over 3/4 of a length.
New South Wales over on the far side of the course in the sky blue, Victoria in the dark blue, the royal blue with the big white V on the bow man, Queensland in the middle in third place, and then a great battle between South Australia and Western Australia. South Australia closest to the spectators, Western Australia on the car park side of the course. Anybody's guess for the bronze, but New South Wales, they've got a length's lead over Victoria in the Interstate Men's Youth 8 for the Wilkinson Cup, named after Noel F. Wilkinson, life member of Rowing Australia and the former treasurer of Rowing Australia. And it's going to be an all-the-way win for New South Wales, back-to-back in the Wilkinson Cup. New South Wales first, Victoria will be second, Queensland will be third. Fourth still to be determined as Queensland comes across the line on that stroke. Western Australia, the local, to be fourth, and fifth is South Australia. 5:56.02. 5:56.02.
And provisional results show New South Wales to have won the Wilkinson Cup with Victoria second, Western Australia third.
Queensland third.
Sorry, Queensland third, Western Australia fourth and South Australia fifth, but we'll wait for the official results.
We've got it different to what the board's showing you, ladies and gentlemen.
The presentation of medals and the Victoria Cup for the Interstate Lightweight Women's Quad Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Virginia Lee, dual Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist and world champion in lightweight rowing. Third place and bronze medalists, Western Australia. Lara Glendenning. Susanna Gravestock. Lola Davies. Ruth Morris. Their coaches were Matthew Cochrane and George White. Second place and silver medalists, Tasmania. Phoebe Teal. Sophie Robinson. Eve Muir. And their stroke, Annika Reardon. The crew is coached by Paul Newbon. Gold medalists and interstate champions for 2023, New South Wales. Grace Cipher. Sophie Gerapetritis. Georgia Mansaro. Lucy Coleman. The crew is coached by Jack Hanley and Kieron Glynn. The Victoria Cup will now be presented by Virginia Lee to New South Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions and medalists in the Interstate Lightweight Women's Quadruple Scull. Confirming the results for the Interstate Men's Youth 8 that raced for the Wilkinson Cup. It was a win for New South Wales, second Victoria, third Queensland, fourth Western Australia and fifth South Australia. The winning time was 5 minutes 55.79. The margins 2.28 and 7.71. Pretty close for the minor placings too, wasn't it, Razor?
Absolutely, yeah, very close indeed.
South Australia just 0.69.
So New South Wales defended their Wilkinson Cup trophy. Now they're going to try and defend the Interstate Women's Youth 8 Bicentenary Cup trophy.
I would just like to say that's wrong. It's actually the Bicentennial. If you actually look at the cup, it's got Bicentennial engraved on it.
Has it?
It has indeed.
You've been working hard
this
week.
Been sleuthing. Yes, so defending the Bicentennial trophy, New South Wales, they've been drawn in lane 2, Tasmania drawn in lane 3, Western Australia drawn in lane 4, Queensland drawn in lane 5, Victoria in lane 6 and South Australia in lane 7. In the New South Wales crew, we have Liesl Page in the bow seat, Laura Cypher, sister of Grace, who just won in the quad, she's in the 2 seat, Sarah Fard is in the 3 seats, Stephanie Preller, Freya Neville, Tiffany Bota and Talisa Noak driver, Isabella Scammell complete the crew, and Elizabeth Bolster, or Lizzie Bolster, is in the Cox's seat. The crew is coached by Lachlan Carter and Felix Djur. In the Tasmanian crew, we have Lila Hucker in the bow seat, Lydia Tippett, Ella Spalding, Morgan Brown, Catherine Greenhill, Amy Florence, Hannah Riches, and Lindsay Calvert is in the stroke seat, impressive young athlete. Sarah Ellis is their cox, and they are coached by Sean Finlayson. In lane 4 with the Western Australia crew is Sophia Cross, Tanika Webb, Aquila Ambrosino, Greta Spencer, Lila Fieves, Sinead Reading, Holly Cannon, Charlotte Broad, and their cox is Tara Rogers. They are coached by Jack O'Day, Tom Gatty and Justin Colangelo. In the Queensland crew, we have Gabrielle Geldard, Minea Bishop, Eliza Bridgefoot, Sophie Malcolm, Sophia Whiteman, Jessica Malcolm, Ella Smith, and Nancy Duncan Banks, coxed by Sadie Ridgway and coached by Susan Shakespeare and Andrew McNichol. The Victorian crew will be hard on the heels of New South Wales in lane 6. Remy Mackay is in the bow seat, Bronte Cullen at 2, Shah Will, Meg Cartwright, Anna Morrison and Sarah Marriott in the powerhouse, Romy Cantwell at 7 and Zara Lavery is in the stroke seat. Summer Balla Kellett is their cox and their coach is Connor McConville. Wow, what a crew. And in lane 7 from South Australia, Charlotte Newman, Bianca Kohlberg, Fern Rosenbauer, Ava Morrow, Emma Newhouse, Georgina Tager, Grace Seppelt and Claire Romanuik, with Madison Newland coxing them, coached by Christine McLaren.
And Georgina Tager is one of the great stories of this regatta, having fallen in on what?
On her first row.
First day, was it? Monday or Tuesday?
Single. Yeah, and she's turned it around.
They're all in the starters' hands. The boat holders are there. I think the starter has said, sit ready.
So we have Bella Scammell for the gold medalist from the Under-23 World Championships in the stroke seat of the Youth 8 for New South Wales. I'm pretty sure she was in it last year as well. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe she was reserve last year.
And away they go, Lizzie. So Isabella Scammell, was she part of the Annabelle Eaton coach crew?
She was indeed. Correct, yes. So she was the one that wasn't based in the USA and came and joined the girls from the USA and took out the gold medal. And New South Wales off to a very fast start on the left-hand side of your screen if you're watching the big screen or watching on the live stream now.
Defending champions in the event and have taken off at a rate of knots over in lane 2. The crew behind Isabella Scammell, Talisa Noak driver, Tiffany Botha, Freya Neville, Stephanie Prella, Sarah Fard, Laura Cypher and Liesl Page. And our drone bringing us great shots of Champion Lakes, and the shot clearly shows that New South Wales have got away well and Victoria has got away in second place, and that's not surprising either.
Not at all, not at all. So yeah, the bow pair of the New South Wales 8, we spoke about them earlier in the regatta. They are lightweight, Liesl Page and Laura Cypher, quite young, and they last year were not selected to the Australian team in any form, so they went to Henley and competed at both Henley Women's and Henley Royal regattas, winning the junior double at Henley Women's and contesting in the quad scull at Henley Royal.
Yep.
Victoria looking very strong indeed. That crew with Remy Mackay, Mike Mackay's daughter, in the bow seat. Bronte Cullen, Shah Will, Meg Cartwright, Anna Morrison, Sarah Marriott, Romy Cantwell and Zara Lavery. 3 very strong athletes there in the stern.
And they're in the lead, albeit narrowly, 0.48. Then 1.25 back to Queensland. Then follows Western Australia, less than a second behind. 1.47 to South Australia, and Tasmania at the back of the field. And New South Wales have won the Australia Cup for the interstate point score on a number of occasions by winning 3 or 4 of the 8 races. And they're looking to do it here, but the Victorians are having something to say about that. Remy Mackay up in the bow seat of the Victorian crew with the big white V on the back.
And their Cox's seat at the other end is the Cox of the St Catherine's 8 that won last year, that won at Henley. So very experienced Cox there, Summer Balla Kellett.
Yep, and
doing a great job.
New South Wales and Victoria going stroke for stroke. They're in the lead. Queensland in second place. Then follows the crew from Western Australia, and Tasmania and South Australia are off the pace on our side of the course here, the spectator side of the course. Remy Mackay up in the bow seat. Of course, her dad won the King's Cup on a number of occasions. Remember in 1993 when Michael Mackay picked the Victorian King's Cup 8 by himself and carried it over the line. It was an amazing win for a man who'd won an Olympic gold medal the year before and had virtually had the year off, and then just rode the interstate races at the Lake Wivenhoe course at the time. A good close-up there of New South Wales. They're in the hunt for the gold medal with Victoria. Then it showed Queensland off in the background. They're in third place. They're length behind, but just 0.39 between Victoria and New South Wales. Queensland a length back. Half a length to Western Australia, half a length to Tasmania, and at the rear is a crew from South Australia. They're in 6th place with a lot of work to do to get into medal contention.
Also in the Victoria crew sitting in, so we said Zara Lavery and Romy Cantwell, very strong athletes. Sarah Marriott sitting in the 6th seat has been selected to the under-23 women's Coxless 4 for Australia to go and compete in Plovdiv, Bulgaria later on this year. So congratulations to her, and what a great powerhouse to have in the 6th seat of your Youth 8.
That's for sure, and the Laverys just keep producing them, the Lavery family.
They do. It's lovely to see.
Zara, the last of the production line, but it is New South Wales and Victoria, stroke for stroke. Queensland looking as though they've moved clearly into 3rd place now. Then across to Western Australia and Tasmania having a crack. Sean Finlayson coaching Tasmania. Western Australia coached by Jack O'Day, Tom Gaddy and Justin Colaneglo. And South Australia, your mate Christine McLaren coaching South Australia, Lizzie.
She will be very happy with this, looking good.
It is Victoria and New South Wales, ladies and gentlemen, settling down to fight it out. It's an Eastern State gold, silver, bronze at the moment, with Queensland holding down 3rd place. Then back to Western Australia, Tasmania at the rear is a crew from South Australia. Over on this side of the course, stroked by Claire Romniak, Grace Seppel in the crew, Georgina Tager, Emma Newhouse, Ava Morrow, Fern Rosenbauer, Bianca Kohlberg and Charlotte Newman. The Queensland crew Gabrielle Geldard, Manea Bishop, Eliza Bridgefoot, Sophie Malcolm, Sophia Whiteman, Jessica Malcolm, Ella Smith and Nancy Duncan Banks, Sadie Ridgway, the coxswain, and Sophia Whiteman rowing for Queensland, having rowed for Sydney, I think it was.
She's at Sydney University Boat Club.
Sydney University Boat Club. So hence the rules of interstate racing being applied there as New South Wales and Victoria go stroke for stroke. Queensland in the bronze medal position. Western Australia in 4th. Tasmania in 5th. And at the rear is a crew from South Australia. But the light blue and the dark blue once again. Sky blue on the far side. Royal blue on this side. The navy blue of Victoria. The big white V on the back of Rennie Mackay, and on the far side, the crew from New South Wales, Liesl Page up in the bow seat. I reckon the light blues have hit the lead. Over on the far side, I think New South Wales have got their bow in front of Victoria. Queensland in the bronze medal position, but it's New South Wales and Victoria. New South Wales with their bow in front. 3 strokes to go. New South Wales back to back. New South Wales first, Victoria second, Queensland third. 4th will be Western Australia, 5th Tasmania and 6th South Australia.
So provisional results show a win in the Bicentennial Cup for New South Wales. 2nd, Victoria. 3rd, Queensland. 4th, Western Australia. 5th, Tasmania. And 6th, South Australia. Provisional time 6:35.02. We will bring you the official results after our next medal presentation. The presentation of medals and the Noel F. Wilkinson Cup for the Interstate Men's Youth 8 Championship of Australia. The medals and cup will be presented by John Boltby AM, Rowing Australia Life Member and Chief Executive Officer of the National Sports Tribunal. Place and bronze medalists, Queensland. Finley Harris. Bailey Clark. Drew Waitman. Nick Munro. Robert Atkinson. Monty Martin. Lex Tucker. Darcy Watter. Their cox, Lachlan McLean. The crew is coached by Randall Martin. Second place and silver medalists, Victoria. Massimo Marrow. Tom Foley. Matt Porter. Ryan Cornelius. Polkinghorne. Oliver Scalzo. Austin Reiner. Winston Hooper. Their cocks, Nicholas Galagotis. And the crew is coached by Tom Manifi. Gold medalists and Australian interstate champions. New South Wales. Alec Hoskin. Charles Jewell. Brandon Smith. Oliver St. Pierre. Mackenzie Thompson. Rory Menzies. Joshua Wilson. And Nicholas Pender. Their cocks, Bronte Blackmore Crab. The crew was coached by Matthias Ungemach and Tim McLaren. The Noel F. Wilkinson Cup will now be presented to New South Wales by John Boltby AM. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions and medalists in the Interstate Men's Youth 8.
I love exploring and getting off the beaten track, especially in Armidale. There's so many hidden gems and great trails to discover. You've got hiking, mountain biking, trail running. You can go to Champion Lakes and explore some beautiful waterways there and do some rowing or kayaking. It is really a great place to go to explore the outdoors. It's only half an hour from the city and you've got a world of adventures right at your feet. I love discovering the hidden gems in Bungendore Park and Wollongong Regional Park. They have to be two of my favourite places in the whole of the Darling Range. One of my favourite family-friendly places in Armidale is Wollongong Dam. There are loads of picnic areas and fantastic views, and it's really great for people of all ages. The City of Armidale have done a fantastic job in building a trail network which is inclusive for families and animals, with lots of dog-friendly trails available in the area. The great thing is they've put a lot of thought and effort into the environmental impact, with lots of dieback cleaning stations throughout the whole regional network. There are so many awesome things to do in the outdoors right here in the City of Armidale.
Aussies in Action are the official photographers of the 2023 Australian Rowing Championships. Head to the arc.rowingaustralia.com.au website to purchase photographs of yourself and your crew from this Australian Rowing Championships.
So before you go home, ladies and gentlemen, today the City of Armidale trade stalls down there. They've got plenty of mementos that you can grab for as a memory of your time here in Perth. So go to the City of Armidale trade stall, which is just back behind the finish tower. And Lizzie, it looked like they're in line. There's the Bicentennial Cup, or Bicentennial Cup, you tell me.
Bicentennial Cup results for the Interstate Regatta are New South Wales first place, Victoria second place, third place Queensland, fourth Western Australia, fifth Tasmania, sixth South Australia. The winning time for New South Wales, 6:34.86. The margin was 1.52, oh, that was close, and 7.84 back to Queensland.
And they're in the starters' hands for the Interstate Men's 8 for the King's Cup.
Here we go. The King's Cup this year has 4 crews contesting. In lane 3, Victoria. In lane 4, Western Australia. In lane 5, Queensland. And in lane 6, New South Wales. The Victorian crew this year is Alexander Wolfe, Rowan Lavery, Hamish Winpope, Simon Keenan, Jack Robertson, Tim Masters, Benjamin Canham and Angus Widdicombe. Their cox is Lucy Burnell and their coach is Matt Ryan. The Western Australia crew is Liam Davis, Riley Rees-Turner, Jack Cleary, Josh Hicks, Miles McQuillan, Sam Marsh, Johnson Daubney and Alex Rossi. Their cox is Eleanor Scott and their coaches are Mark Beer and David Morich. Lane 5, the crew from Queensland, Elliot Appel, Mitch Salisbury, Dylan Rhodes, Harley Moore, Cormac Kennedy Leverett, Paddy Holt, Jared Lord and Miller Rowe. John O'Cook is their cox and their coaches are Scott Rowe and Chris Holliday. And New South Wales this year is Sam Hardy, Jackson Kench, Alex Nichol, George Finlayson, Spencer Turren, Will O'Shannessy, Jack Hargreaves, Alex Pennell. Their cox is Kendall Brody and their coaches Jason Baker and Daniel Noonan.
Grandstand.
What amazing crews. Grandstand Dan.
Dan Noonan coaching the New South Wales crew.
He's here.
They're on the far side, nearest the spectators.
Yes, New South Wales nearest the spectators. Queensland next to them with the green numbers.
And Victoria, we see for Western Australia, Sam Marsh doubling up. He rode the single earlier. And for Queensland, Cormac Kennedy Leverett also doubling up, having won the single earlier. And then I think that's all of the doublings up. And of course, New South Wales has been on a roll for a couple of years, but Victoria pulled off a stunning win a couple of years ago in Barrington, Lake Barrington. Mike Mackay and Noel Donaldson, the old awesome foursome combination, plotted a win there and carried it out beautifully at the time.
It was excellent.
New South Wales.
And then New South Wales regained victory. It's a constant tussle between Victoria and New South Wales, but these are good crews from Western Australia and Queensland, and especially that Queensland crew. I don't think... I know that the New South Wales never, ever, ever take it for granted. Ever. So they're so passionate about winning. So a number of those names have competed in the Noel F. Wilkinson Trophy, were passionate about winning that, and they've had to wait the gap after the age of 21 until they have moved into position to be able to be in the King's Cup 8. So Jackson Kench in the 2-seat, Will O'Shannessy, who's in the 3, 4, 5, 6 seat, the stern pair of the Australian men's 8 last year, a young, well, I suppose fairly young 8. There were some old hands in it, weren't there?
Yeah.
Who we see in the, like Simon Keenan and Tim Masters and people like that. So
Richard just gives me a table here that says Victoria has won this 66 times and New South Wales 38 times.
Is that all? Right.
Yeah. Western Australia 10, South Australia 8, Tasmania 4, Queensland 3, and the ACT just once, and we all know when that was, 1997 at Lake Barrington. It's an interesting, if not controversial, win. Away they go, Victoria closest to the camera, New South Wales closest to the spectators, Western Australia and Queensland in between. all the way well, and the Victorians have got away very nicely indeed in station 3, Lizzie.
They have.
Big Angus Whitcomb, if he's in the stroke seat, he would have cranked it off the line, and he probably still hasn't found those sunglasses that he lost at the end of the fours race the other day.
That's right. That's the picture of him on the bows of a boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the Victorians, as you say, off to a cracking start there. Sharp catches from Alex Wolff and Rowan Lavery in the bow seat. Both of them outstanding pairs rowers, and that's what you need in the bow seat. Could a couple of good technicians, and then a big, strong middle four of Hamish Wynne-Pope, Simon Keenan at 4, Jack Robertson at 5, and Tim Masters at 6. Experienced internationals in Keenan, Robertson, and Masters. All of them studied overseas in the USA as well. Ben Canham and Angus Widdicombe really powerful in that stern pair, and Lucy Burnell coxing them.
And New South Wales are clearly in second, and it's a close fought contest, but as they come to the 500 metre mark, oh! Well, that you could throw a pashmina over him. 0.19. New South Wales in front. Victoria in second place. Queensland in third. 2 races within the race. 0.19 between New South Wales and Victoria. A 2.5 back to Queensland, and another pashmina covering those 2 crews. So New South Wales in the sky blue, nearest to spectators. Victoria in the navy blue over on the far side of the course. Queensland beside New South Wales, and Western Australia are back in 4th place with the umpires launch in behind him. Rene Klupax from Victoria may well be his last national championships, he was telling me a couple of days ago, and a great honour for him to be the umpire for the King's Cup, if it is his last Australian Rowing Championship event.
Let's hope his catamaran can keep up. So Matthew Ryan, the coach of the Victorian crew, of course, multiple King's Cup winner for New South Wales before he moved to take up coaching roles in Melbourne, where he is now the head coach at the Melbourne University Boat Club. He is the selected coach for the Windermere Cup, heading off overseas to the USA soon, and has had great success.
An Olympic silver medalist in the men's 4 in 2008, and I have to say, a damn good bloke with it.
Indeed. Daniel Noonan, Olympic medalist in the quad scull, coaching with Jason Baker, the New South Wales 8, and a few Olympic medalists in that crew too.
Spencer Turren has shaved down and has got the hat off. We're getting serious today. Have a look at Spencer with the shaved head and no bucket hat on.
Very interesting to see that New South Wales have adopted the strategy of quite a high rate as they came off the start and went through the first 500. What we have also seen in the Coxless 4, in which Alex Pennell and Jack Hargreaves in the stern pair of the New South Wales 8 have employed before when rowing with Spencer Turren, Alex Hill, Jack O'Brien. I'm missing somebody.
Would Spencer be the greatest number of wins in the King's Cup in this New South Wales crew? I believe
he is now. He is now that we have no longer have people like James Chapman.
You don't have the Chapmans and the Ryans and others like that.
Fergus Pragnells, yes, exactly.
Fergus Pragnells and Nuno himself.
Oh, it's so tight. Look at that. I think they just have their noses in front, New South Wales, but what a strong, strong row from Victoria.
We know what it means to the Victorians, Lizzie.
We do.
The King's Cup, I saw it many years ago in the Sheffield pub when the boys that had won the Youth 8 for Victoria wanted to drink out of the King's Cup, and I'm not sure if it's Mike Mackay or Andrew Cooper was flicking beer into their faces and saying, you can't drink out of it until you've won it, son.
Quite right.
And it is New South Wales looking to go back to back. They've hit the front on this side of the course over Victoria. Queensland in the bronze medal position and Western Australia in 4th. Queensland, Elliot Appel, Mitch Salisbury, Dylan Rhodes, Harley Moore, Cormac Kennedy Leverett, Paddy Holt, Jared Lord, Miller Rowe, John O'Cook, Scotty Rowe and Chris Holliday coaching that crew. But New South Wales have got the ascendancy in the third 500. They're on 40 strokes to the minute, New South Wales. Behind their stroke, Alex Purnell And Jack Hargraves, I saw them training the other afternoon, and Jack was certainly doing all of the talking at the end of this lap of the course. And it is a polished performance from New South Wales once again in lane 6. New South Wales looking to win the King's Cup back-to-back. And they will go on and do that. New South Wales in Station 6 will beat Victoria in Station 2. Alex Wolf, Rowan Lavery, Hamish Wynne-Pope, Simon Keenan, Jack Robertson, Tim Masters, Ben Canham, Angus Widdowson and Lucy Burnell. But it's New South Wales first, Victoria second, Queensland third, Western Australia fourth in the King's Cup for the Interstate Men's 8-Oar Championship of Australia 2023.
The provisional results of the Interstate Men's 8, a win for New South Wales, second Victoria, third Queensland, fourth Western Australia. The provisional winning time 5 minutes 36.55, the margin 3.18. These are unofficial. We'll bring you the official results shortly. Presentation of medals and the Bicentennial Cup for the Interstate Women's Youth 8 Championship of Australia. The medals and cup will be presented by Liz Scott, OAM, Olympic gold medalist and board member of the Australian Olympic Committee. Third place and bronze medalists, Queensland. Gabrielle Geldard, Minea Bishop, Eliza Bridgefoot, Sophie Malcolm, Sophia Whiteman, Jessica Malcolm, Ella Smith, Nancy Duncan Banks, and their cox Sadie Ridgway. The crew was coached by Susan Shakespeare and Andrew McNichol. Second place and silver medalists, Victoria. Summer Bala-Kellett, their cox. Remy Mackay, Bronte Cullen, Shah Will, Meg Cartwright, Anna Morrison, Sarah Marriott, Romy Cantwell, Zara Lavery, and their cox Summer Bala-Kellett. The crew was coached by Connor McConville. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2023, New South Wales. Liesl Page, Laura Cypher, Sarah Fard, Tiffany Botha, Freya Neville, Stephanie Preller. Talise Noak Driver. Bella Scammell. And their cox, Lizzie Bolster. The crew was coached by Lachlan Carter and Felix Dure. The Bicentennial Cup will now be presented by Liz Scott, OAM to New South Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate all our medalists in the Bicentennial Cup.
Hey, I'm Giro. I'm Amanda Baton. And we are not only best friends, but we are housemates. We row at the Women's Training Centre together, and now we're going to go into a weekly food shop together.
Milk. We'll be going for about 2 to 3 litres a day of milk. For pre-breakfast, have a bowl of muesli. Just get some carbohydrates on board and to fuel up for the session ahead.
I often like to snack on a bit of cereal throughout the day, just like a bit of a carb boost. Yeah, I really rate it. Just a bit of milk, a bit of banana, keeps me going, especially before an afternoon session. I quite just like I really enjoy just having a bowl of cereal.
Baked beans, awesome source of iron, especially for you lady athletes. This is golden. We're actually aiming at the moment in summer to achieve 4 litres of water a day on top of our training sessions. That's the standard that we're trying to hit at the moment. That's 4 kilos of water, for those of you counting. You just called the best snack that there is on offer, nature's gift, banana. I'm hyper aware of how much food we eat. Oh, mixed berries, no.
For lunch, I would normally whack this on a wrap with a bit of cheese. Makes a really quick quesadilla or a fajita. Probably a quesadilla. It's delicious. We're always so tired from training, so anything that's like already cooked, really easy for us is a no-brainer.
Slightly sweet, slightly salty. Kind of like me.
Certified organic Coles smooth peanut butter. Delicious. Do you know what I love about walking around Coles? Everyone looks at you because you're so tall and nobody else is as tall as us. Like they just stare at you like, look at Amanda, compared to the general pop. I actually have toast before training every morning, so just a bit of peanut butter or Vegemite. Another great source of iron. Oh man, I'm so thirsty. Whoa.
Thanks, Carls.
Weekly shot.
Done.
There's only 2 or 3 regions in the world where you can grow fruit, early stone fruit, late stone fruit, apples, pears, avocados, but all the Perth Hills going all the way down to Dwellingup from Armidale. It's good for growing most fruits. My name's Paul and I'm one of the owners of Raven Orchard. The orchard started in 1948 with my father and mother. A lot of people don't know that, we're only 30 minutes from the city. When they get here, they all think, wow, why haven't we been here before? A lot of it ends up at our own shop, so you get it from the tree to the shop and then into someone's mouth, I hope. We do get a couple of local restaurants come and buy their fruit. They try and source locally where they can.
Food's fantastic in this region. I mean, we've got, I think, a mini Swan Valley brewing up here. If you buy local, if you keep producing that, you know where it comes from. There's so many little cafes and restaurants and bigger venues that are providing amazing food. We have a lot of really special places around here, cider houses, mini breweries. It's the entrance to the valley, there's a lot of things to come, I think. People want a day trip or a weekend trip somewhere special, and where else, can you get this sort of beautiful view, beautiful scenery, and most importantly, good food.
So, Lizzie, they're moving into line for the last race. 623 of them there's been over 7 days. The Interstate Women's 8 Championship of Australia for the Queen Elizabeth II Trophy.
The first time it will have been contested without her actually being alive.
Oh, right, okay.
A bit sad in some ways, isn't it? But just shows it's all part of history. Yes, we've got a fantastic lineup here. ACT in lane 2, Western Australia in lane 3, Victoria defending their title in lane 4, New South Wales in lane 5, South Australia in lane 6 and Queensland in lane 7. In the ACT crew, we have Pip Gray, Alexandra Moylan, Nicola Greenland, Elora Kelly, Taylor Caudle, Elena Moran and Eloise Lambden, Catherine Kahn in the stroke seat, Kate Barr-Coxing. They're coached by Tom Krieber and Nigel Harding. In the WA crew, we have Claire Netherway, Leah Franklin, Zoe McKellar, Georgia Hughes, Georgia Patton, Jackie Swick, Rebecca Pretorius and Bronwyn Cox. Nick Rogers is their cox and they are coached by Jamie Hewlett and Bill Hutton. In the Victorian crew, we have, I think it's 6 or 7 of last year's winning crew: Georgie Gleeson, Rhea Thompson, Kat Werry, Amanda Bateman, Sarah Hoare, Paige Barr, Jess Morrison and Lucy Steffen. Their cox is Hayley Verbunt, and they are coached by Al Matthews. The New South Wales crew: Lauren Graham, Eleanor Price, Jamie Ford, Laura Gourley, Rowena Meredith, Georgie Rowe, Emily Shepherd and Harriet Hudson. Hannah Cowap is their cox this year and their coaches are Larissa Biesenthal and Judith Ungemach. The South Australian crew is Sophie Tickner, Cleo Wilson, Jemima Richter, Jo Malcolm, Deanna Macalino, Georgina Tager, Ella Bramwell, Olympia Aldersey in the stroke seat and Amy Carradus coxing them. Their coach is Tom Dernbos. And in lane 7 for Queensland, Jess Scott, Lexi Nothdurft, Maddie Williams, Lucy Hope, Phoebe Robinson, Sarah Tisdall, Lily Alton and Ellen Posey. Their cox is Lily Lunny and they are coached by Phil Bourguignon. So Ray, only Victoria and New South Wales have ever won the Queen's Cup, as it is fondly known. Most of the years Victoria have won this, and the only other crew to have won it is New South Wales. They won it in 2003, 4 and 5, and then in 2019. 2019, of course, was the year when New South Wales created history by winning all 4 of the 8 odd events. And if New South Wales win this event, they will repeat that historical
Well, thank you for telling me that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome, Maisie.
As a proud New South Welshman.
As a proud New South Welsh woman.
Yes.
I'm hoping they'll do it, but I have to say there's some very good crews out there, and that Victorian crew is seriously impressive.
So we need to keep up to the mark, because our director, John Williamson, he keeps us up to the mark down in the truck down there. So we thank John for his efforts for the last 3 or 4 days. He only, swanned in halfway through the event. But he does a great job and very experienced, and we thank John and his team as the great drone shots come up. Lizzie, Victoria put so much emphasis on this. Amanda Bateman did not row the single.
Correct. She is in the 8 instead.
And they're away. She's not doubled up, yet young Georgina Tager for South Australia has doubled up. So nearest the spectator side, the Queenslanders have got away well down in Station 7. The ACT a little tardy off the start. Western Australia and Victoria and New South Wales have all got away well. And then across to South Australia, the crew coached by Tom Dornbos. They and ACT losing contact with these 4 leading crews, even in the first 250 metres. As the crew from Victoria starts to push through, I have information here. Lucy Steffen going to try and set a record. Pauline Frasca and Lizzie Patrick and Lucy Steffen have all won this event 9 times. 9 times. Lucy will take the lead with 10 times if she can pull off the win here today. But the excited Queenslander says at the moment Queensland are going stroke for stroke with Victoria, and then New South Wales right on the hammer of Victoria as well. So the 3 eastern states have won all the medals in the 8s races. We see fans waving to the big screen there, including some parents. Victoria pushing through, have got their bow level, if not in front of Queensland now. They're the best part of half a length in front of New South Wales. That's the Victorians. But you could throw a blanket over Queensland, New South Wales and Western Australia. Victoria were leading. Queensland second, 0.91 back. 1.22 to New South Wales, 0.89 to Western Australia. That's where the medals are, ladies and gentlemen. And then back to the crew from South Australia, and the ACT is at the rear of the field in 6th place. But the Vics have opened up. They've got a length in front. All of a sudden, just through that second 500, into that second 500, they started to push through behind Lucy Steffen, and they've taken the lead clearly over New South Wales. Georgie Gleeson, Rhea Thompson, Kat Werry, Amanda Bateman, Sarah Hoare, Paige Barr, Jess Morrison, Lucy Steffen, Hayley Verbunt, and Al Matthews is the coach. And Lucy Steffen is not going to die wondering, that's for sure. She's having a red-hot crack here to set the record of 10 Queen Elizabeth II trophies. In second place is New South Wales. Queensland now dropping back and are in a fight with Western Australia for the bronze medal position. Western Australia stroked by Bronwyn Cox, so there's some experience there. Georgia Patton in the crew as well. Queensland still there with New South Wales. A number of these Queensland team members were in the University of Queensland Boat Club crew that won the Women's 8 last night, or the last event of the program, I think, wasn't it? In the dark. In the dark. I saw footage sent through to me, and it was very, very dark, that's for sure. Victoria leads now over New South Wales, 5.24 seconds. Queensland in third place, then follows Western Australia, South Australia and the ACT. You can see Georgie Rowe there in the 6th seat, straining every muscle, trying to make that New South Wales boat go faster, as we can see Queenslanders and big Gus Whitticombe down there watching the race. The ACT back in 6th place on the far side of the course, as this Victorian crew, coached by Al Matthews, is going to look to make history for Lucy Steffen. Her dad, the Mayor of Nil, big Gus Steffen, is here cheering her on for sure. And on this side of the course, Queensland is in third place behind New South Wales, but under pressure for the crew from Western Australia over in Station 3. But the Vics have got clear water. It's 2.5 lengths, ladies and gentlemen, for Victoria over New South Wales, Western Australia and Queensland, stroke for the bronze medal. And then back to South Australia and the ACT. South Australia, Sophie Tickner, Cleo Wilson, Jemima Richter, Joe Malcolm has come into the boat for Molly Goodman, Deanna Macalino, Georgina Tager, Ella Bramwell, and the stroke Olympia Aldersey, who was in the stroke of the Women's 8 in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Now, Lizzie, is the Queensland crew coming back at New South Wales or not? Or is that... No, the drone shot shows it very clearly. That was wishful thinking, Raymond. It is clearly the crew from Victoria with 2.5 lengths lead over New South Wales in second place. Then back to Queensland and Western Australia. Then follows South Australia and the ACT well and truly off the pace. And there's little that New South Wales or Queensland can do as this Victorian crew behind the proud Victorian, the girl from Nil, Lucy Steffen, left her hometown, went to school in Ballarat, and then joined a club in Melbourne, and has gone on to be an Olympian and a world champion, an Olympic champion. And it is Lucy Steffen. For the 10th time, she's going to win the Queen Elizabeth II trophy, stroking the Victorian crew and stroking it well. Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. Another 8th race that's going to go to all the eastern states, but it's going to be an emphatic victory for Victoria in the Women's Interstate 8 Championship of Australia for the Queen Elizabeth Trophy as they drive to the line with 3 strokes to go. Victoria will win the Queen Elizabeth II Trophy. The big white V goes across first. New South Wales will be second. Queensland third. Fourth will be Western Australia. Fifth, South Australia. And sixth, the ACT. 6:15.59. 6:15.59. The margin's 4.96 by 3.21.
So confirming the provisional results of the Interstate Women's 8 racing for the Queen's Cup. A win for Victoria, 2nd New South Wales, 3rd Queensland, 4th Western Australia, 5th South Australia and 6th will be the ACT. Provisional time 6 minutes 15.59. We'll bring you the official results shortly.
Lizzie, we're getting really positive comments on my phone from a couple of Victorians who are saying we're doing a really good job. I wonder why that is. Thank you, David Crawshay and Drew Ginn, for the compliments.
The presentation of medals and the King's Cup for the Interstate Men's 8 Championship of Australia. The medals and trophy will be presented by Rob Scott, President of Rowing Australia and Olympic silver medalist. Place and bronze medalists, Queensland. Elliot Appel, Mitch Salisbury, Dylan Rhodes, Harley Moore, Cormac Kennedy Leverett, Paddy Holt, Jared Lord, Miller Rowe, their cox Jono Cook. The crew was coached by Scott Rowe and Chris Holliday. Second place and silver medalists: Victoria, Alexander Wolf, Rowan Lavery, Hamish Wynne-Pope, Simon Keenan, Jack Robertson, Tim Masters, Benjamin Cannon, Angus Widdicombe, their cocks, Lucy Burnell. And the crew was coached by Matthew Ryan. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2023, New South Wales. Sam Hardy, Jackson Kench, Alex Nichol, George Finlayson, Spencer Turin, Will O'Shannessy, Jack Hargreaves, Alex Pennell, and their cocks, Kendall Brody. The crew was coached by Jason Baker and Daniel Noonan. The King's Cup will now be presented by Rob Scott to New South Wales.
Like just while the King's Cup medalists are leaving the podium there, we do have confirmation of the greatest number of wins in the King's Cup for New South Wales. James Chapman, Matty Ryan, Fergus Pragnell, and now Nick Purnell has joined them with, Nick Purnell has 7, so none of the guys in this crew are near that 7. Chapo, Rhino, Fergus Pragnell and Nick Purnell all have 7 King's Cup wins.
So we have the official results now from the Interstate Women's 8, confirming that it was a great win for Victoria. 2nd, New South Wales. 3rd, Queensland. 4th, Western Australia. 5th, South Australia. And 6th, ACT. The winning time for Victoria has been revised to 6 minutes 14.30. The margin 6.23 and 3.16.
gentlemen, we have an update. We have had 195,275 people watching the live streaming. Last year we got to 168,000. So tell all your friends we're looking to break 200,000. We might get 200,000 before the night's out, Lizzie. 195,275 people watching us right around the world. We thank you all for that. We have one more presentation to go and a bit of a wrap from Lizzie and I at the end.
The presentation of medals and the Queen Elizabeth II Trophy for the Interstate Women's 8 Championship of Australia. The medals and trophy will be presented by Rachel Kinnemonth, Olympian, Rowing Australia board member and chair of the High Performance Commission. Accompanied by Ruth Butterfield, Mayor of the City of Armidale. Third place and bronze medalists, Queensland. Jess Scott. Lexi Northdurft. Madeline Williams. Lucy Hope. Phoebe Robinson. Sarah Tisdall. Lily Alton. Posey. Lily Lunny, their cocks. The crew is coached by Philip Bourguignon. Second place and silver medalists, New South Wales. Lauren Graham. Eleanor Price. Jamie Ford. Laura Gourley. Rowena Meredith. Georgie Rowe. Emily Shepherd. And Harriet Hudson. Their cocks, Hannah Cowett. The crew was coached by Larissa Biesenthal and Judith Ungemach. Medalists and interstate champions for 2023, Victoria. Georgie Gleeson. Rhea Thompson. Katrina Werry. Amanda Bateman. Sarah Hoare. Paige Barr. Jess Morrison. And their stroke, Lucy Stephan. Their cocks, Hayley Verbunt. The crew is coached by Alistair Matthews. The Queen Elizabeth II Cup trophy will now be presented by Mayor Ruth Butterfield to Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate all our champions and medalists in the Interstate Women's 8.
Congratulations, Lucy Stephan, now outright record holder 10 times of winning the Queen Elizabeth II trophy.
The presentation of the Rowing Australia Cup for the Interstate Competition Point Score. The Cup is being presented by Ian Robson, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the Interstate Competition Point Score are New South Wales. Receiving the Rowing Australia Cup is Stephen Donnelly, President of Rowing New South Wales, together with members of the Queen's Cup crew.
we're out of practice. 7 days, 600.
That's like when you go on one of those Zoom calls and everybody goes, you're still on mute. We're still on mute, Razor.
623 races, great racing on the last day. What's been your highlight? I know you're from New South Wales, so...
Well, the interstate competition, and of course, as a proud New South Welsh woman, I'm hoping they're going to win. I'd just love to see the dedication that all of those states put in. It's an amazing competition, as we said, as we introduced it. And blown away by that last race. I think the Victorian women looked incredibly strong. So the state of women's rowing in Australia is in good hands looking at that race.
Yep, so we're looking forward to under-19 selections in due course. Under-21s probably being named from this regatta, and international competition this year for Australia.
Yep. There's quite a lot going on. We've got some small teams, but good teams, and you can find out all about that on the Rowing Australia website. As you say, the junior teams still to be selected, and then, of course, those that aren't selected into the teams these days tend to go off and do some international touring, and there are lots of competitions coming up for them too.
Yep. So that's it. That's a wrap after 7 days and 623 races. We've had 195,000 plus views on the live streaming.
Goodness me.
So if you keep looking for a couple of more days, ladies and gentlemen, we might get over 200,000. Lizzie, thank you for your efforts during the week. We'll sign off now and we'll do some thank yous to the people on the course. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, and see you next year.
Thank you. Put that thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, thank yous to people, Alice Evans of Rowing Australia and Chris Grummett, for all the work they do to make the regatta happen, to Fred and Cassia from Ted & Co Events. You don't see Fred and Cassia and Amy doing much because you don't know who they are, but they're doing plenty. Lockie McMillan and John Williamson from the team from BMA Event Productions, their boss Glenn Watson, flying in from Queensland this afternoon to drive the truck back, and Dan Tackenberg and Sarah Black and the whole Western Australian team, the staff, and most importantly the volunteers, not only from Western Australia but from all over Australia. I personally want to thank the commentary team, Lizzie, Richard, Chris, Stuart and Ben, and we look forward to seeing you all at Cirque next year, all 6 of you and maybe a couple more. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, let's thank the athletes, the coaches, you the spectators, the boat race officials, those people in person and online who've watched this regatta and made it the success it's been. So well done to Rowing Australia, Western Australian Rowing, and all of our sponsors and competitors. And that closes off the 2023 Australian Rowing Championships from Champion Lakes in Perth.